Welcome to Live 365 Radio. It's your girl Stacey J, and it is Thursday, so I am back in the building with some dope conversation and a dope guest. I want to welcome you all to the show again. Last week I've been moving, I've been doing a whole bunch of stuff, and so I wasn't able to do a show, but I had to come back because this is what I love to do. So before we get started, do a favor for me and share this with our YouTube page on Live 365 Radio ATL. Hit the subscribe button so you know when we go on live every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. But today I wanted to talk to you guys about something that's been dear to me for at least a year and maybe a half now, is living in your truth, right? A lot of people are doing that. We say we're doing it, but we're not doing it. And I got my good girlfriend. We call each other the Aw Sisters because we're so sentimental and all that stuff. So I have Kadie Bishop on the show with me today. That is my girl. She is the leadership development consultant and a life coach. So welcome, girl, to the show.
Thank you, Stacey. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Now, let me tell you a little backstory because I always got a story, y'all. So it was New Year's 2019. Me, my cousin Lisa Ray, and some other family members, we went down to the Bahamas. Lisa Ray was hosting a New Year's Eve party. And so I met Kadie along with two of our other good friends there, these gentlemen. And when I tell you we had the best time, when we talk about energy, connecting with people, that's exactly what we did. But here's the funny part. So it's New Year's Eve, and for Black folks, you know what we do, right? We got black eyed peas and we got greens, right? That's what we do. That's a tradition. So, of course, this is New Year's. We're in Bahamas. Nobody has black eyed peas. Nobody has greens. But Kadie, right? Kadie went to the store in Bahamas and found the best thing she could, which was a can of black-eyed peas and a can of greens. She had one can of each because, of course, she wasn't expected to meet us. And so what did she do? She opened the can and she shared it. Of course, we warmed it up, guys, but she shared her black-eyed peas and her greens with us just so everybody could have a little bit of tradition for New Year's Eve. So ever since then, we've been thick as thieves. COVID tried to keep us apart, but this year we got some traveling to do, to ripping up the roads and everything. So this is my girl, Kadie.
Awesome. Well, and I was not about to let the Bahamas mess up our money or our good luck for the year. So I had to find the black-eyed peas and the greens. And most importantly, the best thing that it brought me was my friendship with you. So thank you.
So Kadie, we talk a lot about these different type of conversations because, as I mentioned, she's a leadership development consultant and a life coach. And we talk about living in your truth. And so I know y'all tired of me telling you, but I don't care. So when I broke up last year in January of 2020, it was just a new everything for me. And so it helped me to propel me to where I am now, understanding myself a lot better than I did. And so one of the questions was, am I living authentically and in my truth, right? And when you say living your truth, that is a plethora of things with your life. And so I realized I really wasn't all the way living in my truth. And so that journey began for me last year, and I've been doing that ever since. And as I talk to people, like I know you do too, Kadie, is people are living in their truth. And you do a lot of coaching on a daily basis. What do you find that some of those reasons are?
Well, what's interesting is because they haven't had the opportunity to really come to terms with it themselves, right? So what I find is that people have not taken the time to kind of do that self-reflection moment. Mm-hmm. The first question I always ask them is, what is happiness to you? And then the second question is, when was the last day that you were truly happy? What's really interesting about that is, first, they have some struggles with defining what that is. So how can you go out and be happy if you don't even know what that is, right? Mm-hmm. And then the second piece of it is, it may have been years since they've been happy. So we kind of have to go back and dig deep and to find out, why has it been so long? What happened after that, right? That stopped your happiness. And what we will often find is they have things from their past that they put away and that they've never talked about, not even to a sister, a mother, a cousin, any of that. So we kind of have to dig those things up before we can really create that happiness for them going forward.
Yeah, because, people, we sometimes connect our happiness with moments or people and not just living, you know what I mean? Just the fact that you wake up every day, it's like, and I know that's so cliche to say, I woke up, my feet hit the ground, but yeah, it did. Because if it didn't, then you wouldn't have to worry about trying to live in your truth or be authentic or any of that. But one of the things that I found out is social conditioning, because when I think back, as I was stripping away those different labels and things I've been told and how to live, social conditioning is one of those reasons, because your parents or people you're around, it's like, what do they believe in? And then as a child, what are you hearing? So is it grow up, get married, go to college, get married, have kids, get a white picket fence and a dog, and retire and die? Is it, you got to have all this money because that money makes you happy? Just all different type of things that, being in the world, we're constantly fed so much information all the time. And so it's like, be skinny, be fat, be this, be that, whatever. And so I learned that we don't listen to our inner wisdom. You know what I mean? We've gotten away from that thing, that intuition or something you feel where it's like, this ain't right, but then we overlook it. Those are the key things that help you to define what life means to you. And so that's what I find is that we have to strip away those social connections, those things our parents even told us, because they only do the best that they can do, you know?
Mm-hmm. And also, I would add to that too. You also have to strip away those things that are just habit for you, or things that you've been doing for a long time. So if you've got a circle of people who are just negative, right, and who always have something negative to say,
Right.
you really have to look at, just because you've been around that person for 20, 30 years doesn't mean you have to invest the same amount of time with that individual as you would going forward, right? If you're trying to focus on your happiness, live in your truth, and be your best version of yourself, then you may have to switch that circle up and find new people that have new energy, new thoughts, and new ideas that'll really help you to grow as well.
And it's not a bad thing, because when you've been friends with somebody a long time and then now you guys are drifting away because maybe somebody got married and have a family, maybe the other person's still single. Well, we can still get together and do some things, but our dynamics of our life is so different. So I'm not living my life as a married woman, and there's certain things and that you have to, and traits and all that you have to adhere to, because you can't just hang out all night and you married and stuff. So it's just looking at, like, not feeling guilty, like we don't have nothing in common no more. We don't even like the same things. And we feel so guilty. I don't know, as women, we feel so guilty about everything. Like, I don't want them to think that I'm not their friend anymore. And I don't want them to think I'm changing and all this kind of stuff. And I had, did some research on how to know if you already living in your truth, right? Because some people may say, I am living in it. So here's a few things: is that you're content with your life. That's important, because a lot of us are rushing. We trying to get to what's the next thing. What's the next thing? I've been there. It's like trying to make money, trying to have a successful career. For people that want to have children, we're rushing to get there. You have to be content with where you are. And that's where I am. I'm like, when I wake up every day, it is such a blessing. And I don't know if it's age, because you know how you get older, you like, shoot, I got about, as Deion Cole say, about 30 more summers. You know what I mean? So, you kind of like, you just got to be okay with what life is. And then it says you don't seek approval or validation for others. A lot of times we don't with certain people, but it's hard with everybody, because your parents matter. Your favorite aunt matters. So when you do something and you like not looking for them to validate you, but there's something sometimes, that unconscious thing, like if she says it's good, it's good. So you got to be able to stand without an applause. You got to be able to know what you're doing without somebody patting you on the back. You got to be able to pat your own self on the back. Number 3 was, people will often tell you how well, happy, glowing you look. Man, I've been getting the glowing thing since 2020. You know what I mean? Without the makeup and stuff, guys. Like, I've been glowing because I've been doing work, and because now I understand how to be content in my life, how not to give a about what nobody say. It has helped me internally, and it's showing externally. Number 4, you do more of what your soul craves and less of what doesn't bring you joy.
Ooh. Say it again. Say it again.
I'm telling you, is that you find out you do things based on other people or what they like to do. Like, I like it, but you like it more, so I'll do it and I'll go along with it. It's boundaries. So I've learned to do that. You just got to be able to say no to things that don't bring you joy anymore. Like, stop doing things that you don't want to do to appease somebody else. Number 5 is, you don't rely on others to feel good about yourself. You cannot, because if I'm waiting on Kadie to tell me I'm cute and I'm like, She
Well, you
deserves
are cute though.
you.
You are cute
Well, thank
though.
you. But you wait on people to give you
Yes.
that, that approval. And now that can make or break you. And then the last one is you accept that life is imperfect. And I tell my son this all the time. He be like, Mom, every time I save some money, always something happening there. It's gonna happen. But do you have the money to take care of it? Can you get the money to take care of it? Let's maximize the solution and minimize the problem.
Ooh, I love it. Hashtag.
That's the hashtag. So Kate, you've been coaching for a while now.
Yes, ma'am.
What made you get into it? Because I know, we talk about this all the time. Some people are, I think, empaths, healers, called to do this. It's a passion. What was your reason?
Well, for me, I've been doing leadership development for a long time. And with that, you become a coach, right? In a corporate environment. But I really have a passion. I have a passion for that. But I also have a passion for helping people to be their greatest versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And oftentimes they have to have a conversation with someone else that can ask them those questions to
Mhm.
lead them to those moments of self-discovery, because they can't necessarily get there on their own. So for me, that's really was my area of passion, was to help people figure that out. So I always tell people it's kind of like a tour guide, right? I just ask those questions and lead you to the area that's going to make you your best self. I love that you called out the piece about figuring out kind of your investments of time and if it's making you happy or not. One of
Mhm.
the things that I'm really passionate about, and I do in my coaching, is just that. So I'll actually ask them to do a time study where I'll say, write down a day, everything you did within a day,
Mhm.
and then decide if that helped you to be happier or more successful, put a check mark by it, or if it didn't, make it a negative, or if it was a neutral, write neutral. And then you
Mhm.
can go back and really figure out what were those things that I did that made me happiest at work, that made me happiest in life. And then,
Mhm.
like you said, do more of those things, right? So I
Mhm.
help them to create those plans to figure out how they can be even more effective in those things. But then also, how do you either minimize those things that are negatives? How do you minimize those, or how do you switch them up a little bit so you do a little bit less of them, or
Mhm.
just change your routine? But
Yeah.
you got to really figure out what those things are. And then the other thing that you called out was the relationship piece and looking for other people to make
Yeah.
you happy. And what was interesting is I recently did a happiness study where I talked to almost 100 people and I
Oh,
asked them that question, what is happiness? And what was so interesting is most people didn't know.
right.
It took them a minute. They're like, can I get back to you tomorrow? Because either they couldn't define it or they didn't know. And out of the 100 people I talked to, 98 of them were completely different answers. So what's
Mhm.
happening is people are looking to other people to make them happy, but everyone's definition of happiness is completely opposite, right? 98
Right.
out of 100 were different. So if I ask Stacy to make me happy, your definition is going to be different than mine, which is,
Right.
it just goes to say again why it's so important for me to create my own happiness for myself, because I'm the one that makes that definition.
And that is so important when you think about relationships, because
Yes.
people look for the mate to make them happy and
Yes.
not looking at the happiness I bring. And I need you to complement my happiness, not
Yes.
be my happiness, because I need to know how to be happy by myself, content by myself, and all that. And it's funny because when you ask people either to talk about themselves or what makes them happy, it is well, I like traveling. You know what I mean? Well,
Yes.
you can travel all the time. So
Yes.
what are those things that are really probably small, silent, little happiness that gives you joy every day? Because you have if you have something to look forward to and have your own joy in your heart, I think it makes your day so much more worth living instead of you feeling like you have to depend on something to happen. Like we went out today, we had cocktails, we had this, that made me happy. You need to find what defines your happiness on your own. And that's what you find in relationships because people depend on the other person so much. And then they blame you for their lack of being happy. I'm not happy. And it's like, that's not my problem. That's your problem. I mean, not to sound
Yes.
mean. And the thing is, too, is when you do start doing that work and stuff and you become a little bit more confident and bold and courageous in your answers or how you live your life, you're gonna lose some people, y'all. You're gonna lose some people, you're gonna have people talking about you, all that kind of stuff. So if you're fearful of losing that, then it's going to take you a harder time to get to your happiness. You can't give a F about what nobody else is thinking about. And if somebody don't want to be your friend because you're trying to be happy in your life, then that speaks volumes. And I think that's one of the things that keep us from pursuing the happiness. The pursuit of happiness is because of the people we're around, and we feel like they're going to judge us.
Yeah. And I like that you said that it's just small things too, right? One of the ladies that I coach, when we went back to that day in her life that she was the happiest, I was like, what were you doing in that day? And what she was doing, it was a childhood moment, but she was dancing. And so guess what? She started dancing this past week. She danced for 5 minutes a day, right? I'm
Right.
like, put on some music, dance. And so that just those small things can take
Yes.
you back to those moments and can, again, try to improve your energy and make you even more happy.
Yeah, me, I love happiness. For me, one of my happiness is when I clean the house, or not clean. I mean, well, it's clean, y'all. Stop it. But I'm saying is I love putting on my Pandora on my TV. I got me a sound bar, and I put on my favorite stations like Dwelle, J Dilla, smooth jazz, and it actually takes me away mentally. Like I see myself on the beach. I see myself riding down, in Chicago, we call it Lakeshore Drive, on the beach, or California. It takes me on small little getaways because there's nothing wrong with using your imagination.
Mhm.
But this is what I want to ask, because this is what I want to be able to help people with that are watching is for those that, because what we say, and it sounds like we're like, oh yeah, just do this. And I know there are people dealing with other issues, more traumatic experiences that's like, I
Yes.
don't know, how to get there. Kadie, what are some things that, that you can, some tips or strategies that you can give, just a couple, and you guys can contact her for this because everybody needs a coach in something, that can help people that are a little bit more in a traumatic position that can't kind of find their way out to even start this process.
Yeah. So I think the most important piece, I think doing that study piece is really important. And even if you're in a very high stress or high trauma type of situation and you can't necessarily control everything that's in your current environment, right? Helping them to really dissect that time of the day that they spend, the
Mm-hmm.
most stressful, right? The ones, and even knowing exactly what that time looks like, but then being able to dissect that. But then also helping them to figure out the things they can remove or they can control.
Mm-hmm.
That piece is number one. I think the other piece is helping them figure out when it was that the trauma started happening, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times you'll see that happened many years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
that's leading into what's their current situation is as well. So helping them to just kind of go back and reflect, do
Yeah.
some journaling is important. Find a person to talk to, whether it is a life coach, it's a counselor, or maybe it's just someone that you're really comfortable with.
Yeah.
And ask yourself, what's something that I've never shared with someone? A
Right.
story that I've experienced that was hard for me to deal with, that I feel like is a roadblock for me today that's preventing me from moving forward. And
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out really what those roadblocks are for you can be really, really helpful. And talking that through with someone else. Some people who are not comfortable talking it through, just that simple journaling, right? I'll do an activity where I'll say, get a notebook and write down what are all the things that people have said to you that were insults throughout your childhood, throughout your relationships. What are words that people use towards you? What are labels that people have given you? And write them down so you can really see it and to come to terms with it and look at it on a paper and say, wow, I've been called all these things. People have
Yeah.
said all these things to me. Because oftentimes you'll avoid it or try to forget it. But then once you're done, rip it up, throw it away, burn it, do whatever you need
Burn
to
it,
do,
baby.
right? Because it's the past.
Yeah.
And then now replace that with your positive words. So what positive words do I want people to think about when they think of me? And what positive words do I want to be a part of my day? And then again, you do those positive affirmations to help you to kind of move forward. But yeah, letting it go. I think
Yeah.
that roadblock piece is so important, is figuring out what those roadblocks are for you, because most people don't know.
Yep. And here's the thing: you defined your life. If everybody knew Stacy to be, whatever, wild, crazy, whatever, impulsive, then now you always have the opportunity to change your dynamics of who you are, and who cares what anybody else say. And let me tell y'all another thing: stop talking to people that are sitting in their own pain, in their
Mm-hmm.
own trauma. Everybody got something, but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is, if you're going to talk to somebody that can't give you a piece of advice, or their advice is not legitimate because they're speaking from a place of pain,
Yes.
then that is why you get a coach. And the reason why I love therapy, coaching, counseling, consulting, whatever you want to call it, is because I don't know you. I
Yes.
don't know you. Your job is to be confidential.
Yes.
And I don't need, if I don't see you ever again, we did business together, but you helped me become who I needed to be. When you talk to your friends, you know, sometimes you like, is she gonna repeat it?
Yes.
If are they gonna come from a place where, girl, I wouldn't be dealing with that if I was you. And you just need to, you don't need that. If you are trying to really better yourself and overcome the obstacles and trying to find your truth and be authentic. I love who I am. I'm silly, I'm crazy, I'm positive, I'm powerful, I'm cute, I'm this, I'm that. I embrace that now. And being direct with people, people are so used to not having people be direct with them and be bold and be courageous, is that they so used to people being indirect and passive and fake. And that's something that I no longer do. So, not that I really did it in the first place, but I do have things that I probably looked at other people that would meant something to me, and you alter what you say. But create the boundaries. Talk to somebody like Kadie or whoever else. They even got apps now where you can talk to a therapist through an app. So there's nothing wrong with that. We need to stop the myth in the Black community that therapy means you're crazy. You're crazy for not talking to anybody, if you ask me, because if you desire to have this life of fulfillment, how you gonna get it talking to baby and them?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, who you gonna do it to?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
one thing we do, we living in our truth, and I appreciate you, Kadie, for coming on and like having this conversation, because I think the world is in a shift. You're always gonna have the drama. You always gonna have something, but I think the majority of the world, to me, and maybe it's the light workers I'm around, are awakening. You have people that are desiring to do better, to be better, to live better, especially with everything that happened last year and just everything else. People just trying to live. You know what I mean? So what better way than to live authentically and in your own truth,
Yes,
right?
ma'am. Well, and I want to thank you because, like you said, even though 2020 was a dark side for a lot of people, you found a way to still shed your light, even virtually, to
Yeah.
me and to other people in our circle and to really everyone that you interact with. And even through your shows every week, it's just been such a highlight of my life and of others as well. And so that does definitely make a big impact for me and for others. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And so, Kadie, can you tell everybody how to follow you, contact you, get y'all counseling on? I'm telling you, y'all the counseling is the best thing. Y'all can put that little money aside, okay? New shoes ain't gonna make you happy. Only for a little while, and if they hurt, they not gonna make you happy.
Yes.
So, how can they contact you and all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. So I would love to speak with you. I'm doing a 30-minute complimentary consultation sessions. So you can contact me at Leadership Tips with a Z on Instagram. You can also email me at your Coach Kadie with a D, Kadie, at gmail.com. And you can also reach me at yourcoachkadie.com. So I'd love to speak with you and find ways to help you to be even more happy than you currently are today.
Dance break. See, you gotta do something. You gotta be silly. You can't be silly with yourself and have a good time. Anybody that know me, they like, you silly. And I'm like, I am. But when I go to the White House, I'm professional, okay?
That's right.
So
You know how to turn it on and turn it off when you need
turn
to.
it on, turn it off. It's okay. Everybody got different personality. I know y'all be at home doing crazy stuff. But thank you, my beautiful friend, for coming on, sharing this time with me. And of course, as always, I love you.
Love
And
you.
I appreciate you. And guys, every Thursday, I'm here, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, talking about something that will empower, inspire you, and help you to live your life on purpose, because that is what we're doing from now moving forward. So check us out every Thursday. Please subscribe to my YouTube page at Live 365 Radio ATL. On Instagram is live365.radio. We just live 365 all over, because that is exactly what we believe in, living your life every day 365 on purpose. So I will see you guys next week.
Bye.